Hey, and welcome to Archetype Aperture. I am Jim, the host of the show, in case you did not already know. And today we're going to be talking about the new piece of equipment that I just got in. But first, let's take these off. We're going to be talking about audio gear today and podcasting. Something I've had my eye on now for quite some time, and is the Rodecaster Pro. And I finally picked one up. And so today, what I'm going to be covering is, not so much the specs. I don't really know all the specs per se right off the top of my head, but I did want to cover some of the functionalities and the functions of this device. Specifically, this device was made for the podcasting world. Now, what you'll notice is it's got a beautifully sleek design, and there's a lot of really cool buttons that you can push on here, and you can use those buttons if you want to or not. They are all fully programmable buttons, and you can put in your intro outro music on a button. There's all kinds of weird, wacky little fun little things that you can play as well. Let's see, if I tell a really bad joke, and then you can toggle that off with the live button if you want. Now, there are 4 channels. There is a USB channel, and there is a phone channel, and then there is this. This is my favorite function because we do a lot of call-ins and what have you, and call-outs. This is a Bluetooth function, and it can attach to your cell phone, whether Bluetooth or what have you. And you can just take calls right from there, or you can just if you wanted to use it for playing your music, again, you could use that for your intro outro, or if you have sound bites that you have on your phone, you can use them there, or you can simply program them into these touchpads, which is really cool. It does one of the main functions, like for me, and it's really an aesthetic type of thing, but everything that it connects all here in the back. Everything connects in the back. So what's cool about that is I don't have a lot of wires covering my control surface, which is something that if you've listened to any podcast that I've ever made or anything that I've ever done as far as videos, I don't like wires. Wires drive me crazy. Now, there are still wires that need to be connected. There's a microphone wire, and we're going to get to that as well. Like I said, there's headphone wires, there's a power cable, there's a USB cable, what have you. So currently, right now, the setup I'm running, I have one mic, and it's an XLR. This does have 4 XLR inputs, which is really cool. There's no need for adapters or what have you. It also has, and then each channel is separated. Each XLR has its own separate channel. It also allows for 4 headphone jacks that are each compatible with each channel, each track, which is really cool. In the past, I used to have to use what I was using previously was a Focusrite and or a Zoom H6, and with each of those, you had to have a headphone splitter / amplifier. You don't need to have all that gear anymore with this, which is really awesome. There is some latency in the headphones, so what I mean is it's not going to sound exactly like the recording. So what you hear in the headphones is not exactly going to be indicative of what you hear in the recording. So just buyer beware on that. The preamp for the headphones is already, I've only had this now for 2 days and I've been tinkering with it, but I've already learned that much. So something to think about there. What other little tricks? And I mean, it just, the reason I got this is I do my podcast, Archetype Aperture podcast, and I also do with my girlfriend, we have a podcast together, Kitchen Table Discussions. It's a little bit more on the well, it's not an instructional type of podcast. Let's just say that. It's definitely more entertainment, fun, and it's not censored. So there may be explicit content on that. Anyways, not shameless plug for my other podcast, but we do a lot of work with audio. So it was important for me to have something that makes my workflow a little bit easier, and this definitely is going to do that, I believe. Now, I will be making more videos in the future on this subject, not just on this, but it will be on this subject. But and I'll cover the things I've learned about it. Now, this unit has been out for a few years now. I couldn't tell you exactly when it was created and when it's been put out, but there has been some firmware updates that make this thing kind of almost like a new machine. But to me, it's a new machine. So whatever hiccups there were in the past, I don't know, and I can't speak to that. So, but for now and so far, I'm really enjoying this, and it is going to speed up my workflow because I mean everything I need is right here, and it's got a lot of editing already, software that's already in it, so the recording is going to come out a lot cleaner than it normally would. I mean, right now I'm actually in my kitchen. Yes, I have sound dampening in my kitchen. That's because we record a podcast in here. But I have a refrigerator over there. I've got the AC just kicked on, and the unit is literally right above my head. So if you heard that come on, you know, you could go in and there is a, let's see, there's a noise gate. So this is what it sounds like with the noise gate. All right, so this is with the noise gate on. And if you'll notice, what it does is every time I stop talking, it basically shuts, it drops the gain. And it sounds kind of weird. I think that it's a little bit choppy, especially when you have all this external noise going on. It does make it sound a little bit choppy. But for the most part, it's there to try and clean up your audio. But I can clean that up in Audition and post. I'm gonna turn that off. There's a compressor, a de-esser, ducking, high pass filter. There's an Aphex. It has like a processing section, and it's got an aural exciter, which I honestly don't know what that means, and a big bottom, which kind of gives you a little more bass and in your voice, which is fine as well. Now, one thing I will say is you can go in here and you can select your gain level. I'm at right about a 30 right now on the gain. I am using phantom power, and I'm also using a Triton FET for additional clean gain, 25 decibels of clean gain before it even hits this. So that definitely does help clean up the audio quite a bit. I don't have to have my slider up so high. Let's see what else we got here. Well, you can go into where it says voice, and you can select tone, and you can either, if you have a deep tone voice, you can select that. If you have a high tone voice, you can select that. And I'm assuming that it's going to try and match all those tones. I just put mine in medium. Strength, if you have a soft voice, if you're dealing with somebody, if you're having someone that has a very soft voice on a podcast, you click on that, and I imagine it's going to raise the gain or the volume level just slightly enough to match that of everyone else's. I put mine on soft because, well, you know, I want the most out of what I do here. I'm going to leave it on medium though, because I probably have a more medium tone voice, and that's fine. It does have presets for all these different microphones. The Rode Pod mic, which is what I'm using now, Rode Procaster, the Broadcaster, the NT1, the NTA, the ep20, and then it has just any condenser mic that you want to use, and then any dynamic mic. It has settings for all of those things. It does I believe it automatically picks up what type of microphone you're using if it's a Rode product, because I've changed it a few times, and then every time I turn off the device, it pops back in as a Rode Pod mic. So, but what's really cool is, like I said, these sliders, there's a lot of headroom for your volume, which is really, really cool. And, you know, like, especially with this, if you want to play your intro music, you just hit the button, and then you can fade out right here on the board, which is really cool. What I've been doing is going in post and adding an audio track to the beginning and to the end of a podcast. And then I have to go in and I fade it in and out on my DAW, which, I use Adobe Audition. And no, this is, if I haven't said it already, which I don't believe I did, but this is not a sponsored ad. I actually bought this Rodecaster, and I pay for Adobe Audition. None of these things up here were given to me. I have no sponsors here, so none of this stuff is sponsored. I pay for everything. Anyways, this thing is about $600. The only reason I really stress maybe purchasing one of these if you're looking to get into podcasting is the fact that I have spent more in my, since we started using recordings and doing podcasting, I've spent more money on little things here and there when I could have just easily have just purchased this. And over the years, like I said, I've spent way more than $600 on audio gear and microphones and everything. Kind of drives my girlfriend a little crazy. At any rate, this thing is, like I said, it's all in one. It would save you time, but no, do you need it? No, you don't need it. It's not something you need. Definitely when you start out doing a podcast, you can just hold your phone up to your mouth. It has an audio recorder on it. Use that. If you have the headphones, if you're using an iPhone, they come with little earbuds. You can use that, or any cell phone you use. They most of the time you can either you'll have a Bluetooth enabled microphone and headphones, or there's a plug and play. But that would be perfectly fine for recording a podcast. Now, if you are someone that wants to grow and have more people added into your podcast, you definitely want to think about investing in something that has multi-channel or multi XLR or microphones or something. You could even use USB microphones. There's so many options out there. This is just one of them. And I don't want you to think that you have to run out to the store today and pick up one of these. It's not. It's just my preferred method at the moment. And I've been kind of salivating over one of these for a while, and I finally got it. So again, drive my girlfriend crazy, but hey, I do what I do. You know what I mean? And I'm going to play with this until I find something better. And if I find something better that I like a little more, then, I may go with that. But for now, this is what I'll be using for the said future. So it does cut out the need for interface and all that, because it is an interface. And it does have an SD card slot. It's a micro SD card. And you can record directly to this. So, and from everything I understand about this, though, when you record to the SD card and you have all 4 tracks fired up and you have 4 people talking, it's all going to come out on one WAV file all together. Where I like to channel through my DAW, my Adobe Audition, and I can select multi-track. And when I do that, I can actually separate each track, which is really awesome. So I'm most likely, unless I'm on the go, I will probably never use that on here. Oh, and for portability purposes, this is a great device. If you're going to be recording in a place that's not your normal setup and you have to meet someone somewhere, you can bring this and a couple of mics. You don't even really need to use headphones. I'm not using them right now, but you can bring this and a couple of mics and it would be perfectly fine. Nothing crazy there. So for now, that's pretty much all I've got. I will report back to you when I find anything else, after I've tweaked around with it and I find other things that I do, my pros and cons list, but I will report back to you. So thank you for listening and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.